In the year 1324, a single man crossed the desert with so much gold that entire cities were never the same again. As he passed through Cairo, gold flooded the markets. Prices collapsed, currencies lost their value, and merchants would feel the damage for more than a decade. This man did not conquer these cities. He did not loot them. He simply gave too much away. Historians still struggle to measure his wealth, because no scale has ever existed that could contain it. Adjusted for modern value, his fortune surpassed Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and every billionaire alive today combined. Yet outside of history books, almost no one knows his name. He ruled an empire built on gold, salt, and absolute control of trade. An empire so wealthy that it reshaped how the world saw Africa forever. This is the story of Musa, the richest man the ancient world ever produced, and the wealth that changed history. This is the eternal record. The man behind the legend was named Musa, emperor of the Mali Empire, one of the largest and most powerful civilizations the world had ever seen. In the early 14th century, while much of Europe struggled through famine and instability, Musa ruled over a territory that stretched across West Africa, covering what is now modern-day Mali, Senegal, Guinea, Niger, and Ghana. This was not a small kingdom. It was an empire, and at its peak, Mali controlled the most valuable resources on Earth: gold, salt, and the trade routes that connected Africa to the Mediterranean, the Middle East, and beyond. Historians have attempted to calculate Musa's wealth using modern economic models. The result is always the same. It was immeasurable. Some estimates place his fortune at the equivalent of $400 billion. Others argue the number is meaningless, because Musa did not merely possess wealth. He controlled the supply. When Musa ruled Mali, nearly half of the world's known gold passed through his empire, not because he minded himself, but because nothing moved without his permission. In an age before banks, stock markets, or billionaires, Musa stood alone at the top of the global economy. But his power was not inherited through conquest alone. It was built on something far more rare: control. Musa's wealth did not come from conquest alone. It came from position. The Mali Empire sat at the center of the most important trade network in the medieval world. To the north lay the Mediterranean, to the east the Middle East, and to the south the richest gold fields known to man. Mali controlled the flow between them all. Beneath its soil were the legendary gold mines of Bambouk and Bure, mines so productive that they supplied much of the world's gold for centuries. But gold alone was not enough. In a medieval world, gold could buy luxury. Salt bought survival. Salt preserved food, sustained armies, and kept entire populations alive. Mali controlled both. Caravans crossing the Sahara carried gold north and returned south with salt, textiles, and knowledge. Every route passed through imperial territory. Every transaction was taxed, not in coins, but in power. Unlike Europe, where gold was scarce and kings depended on fragile alliances, Mali's wealth was centralized. No merchant could trade gold without the emperor's consent. No foreign power could bypass Mali's routes. Musa did not need to display his wealth. The world already depended on it. And in 1324, he decided to show the world exactly how much power he held. In the year 1324, Musa set out on a journey that would echo through history. It was not a conquest. It was not a war. It was a pilgrimage. As a devout Muslim, Musa was required to perform the Hajj at least once in his lifetime, a journey from West Africa to the holy city of Mecca. But no ruler had ever attempted it on this scale. Contemporary accounts describe a procession of tens of thousands: soldiers, officials, servants, and enslaved attendants dressed in fine silk. Ahead of them stretched a caravan unlike anything the medieval world had ever seen. Camels, each carrying hundreds of pounds of gold, gold dust, gold bars, gold ornaments. The caravan crossed the Sahara like a moving city of wealth. Wherever Musa stopped, he gave to the poor, to scholars, to merchants, to rulers. When he reached Cairo, the heart of the Islamic world at the time, his generosity became legend. He distributed so much gold that its value collapsed. Markets flooded, prices fell, and the economy of Egypt would not fully recover for more than a decade. Musa did not intend to cause chaos. In his world, gold was abundant, generosity was expected, and power was measured by what one could afford to give away. By the time he reached Mecca, his reputation had already traveled faster than his caravan. The world had seen his wealth and would never forget it. Gold is only valuable when it is scarce. In Cairo, scarcity disappeared overnight. As Musa's gold poured into the markets, its value began to fall. Merchants who once prospered suddenly found their savings worth less each day. Prices collapsed. Contracts lost meaning. What began as generosity became inflation. For the first time in recorded history, a single individual had altered the economy of an entire region simply by passing through it. The damage was not immediate. It lingered. For more than 10 years, Egypt struggled to recover from the shock. And then, something unexpected happened. On his return journey, Musa attempted to repair the damage. He borrowed massive amounts of gold from Egyptian lenders at high interest, not because he needed it, but because he understood the balance of power. By removing gold from circulation, he slowly restored its value. Even in correction, his influence was unmatched. No army could have achieved what his wealth had done. Musa had demonstrated a truth the world would learn again and again. Money is power, and power, when unleashed without limits, reshapes history. To understand Musa, you must look beyond the gold. He was not only a ruler of wealth, but a ruler of ideas. Musa was deeply religious and profoundly committed to learning. Wherever he traveled, he brought back more than treasure. He brought back knowledge, scholars, architects, books. Upon his return to Mali, he transformed cities like Timbuktu and Gao into centers of education. Mosques rose from the desert, libraries filled with manuscripts. At its height, Timbuktu housed tens of thousands of books. At a time when much of Europe possessed only a few, education was not a luxury. It was policy. Under Musa's rule, scholars were honored, funded, and protected. Law, mathematics, astronomy, and theology flourished. Wealth was no longer measured only in gold, but in what could endure after it was gone. Musa understood something rare among the powerful. Empires fall, gold disappears, but knowledge outlived them all. For centuries, Europe knew almost nothing about the wealth of West Africa. What lay beyond the Sahara was rumor, myth, and mystery. That changed after Musa's pilgrimage. News of a king who gave away gold like dust spread quickly across the Mediterranean. Merchants spoke, scholars wrote, and mapmakers listened. In 1375, more than 50 years after Musa's journey, his image appeared on one of the most important maps of the medieval world, the Catalan Atlas. There, seated on a golden throne, was a crowned African king holding a massive nugget of gold. The inscription named him plainly, Musa, King of Mali, Lord of Gold. For the first time, Europe saw Africa not as a blank space, but as a source of immense wealth. This single image reshaped perception. It fueled curiosity, trade ambitions, and eventually conquest. The world had been shown what lay beyond the desert, and it would spend centuries trying to claim it. History often measures greatness by conquest, by armies, by how much was taken. Musa was different. He ruled through abundance, not scarcity. His wealth reshaped economies, altered global perception, and revealed a truth often forgotten. Africa was not a land waiting to be discovered. It was already rich, already powerful, already connected to the world. Musa's story challenges how history is told and who it chooses to remember. No modern billionaire has ever possessed what he controlled. No fortune has ever moved so freely through the world. And yet, his greatest legacy was not gold. It was knowledge, trade, and a civilization that proved wealth could build, not just destroy. The gold faded. The empire fell. But the record remains. This is the eternal record. Leave a like and subscribe for more story and hit the notification button. Thank you.